Want to take your workouts to the next level? Creatine is a game changer for weightlifters. It helps build muscle mass, increase strength, and reduce fatigue. Plus, it improves focus and mental clarity. But not all creatine supplements are created equal. Muscle Blaze's Cre-Amp Creatine Monohydrate is a superior choice. It's a blend of micronized creatine and Cre-Absorb, which ensures maximum absorption. So you get the most out of every scoop. Whether you're a meat eater or vegetarian, creatine can benefit you. It's especially important for vegetarians because there's a lack of natural sources of creatine in the vegetarian diet. Ready to experience the power of creatine? Try Muscle Blaze Cre-Amp Creatine Monohydrate. Check out the link in the description. Now back. Ma'am, the purpose मेरा इस conversation के साथ, the purpose is I want to see, we hear a lot about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. ठीक है? Even in the north, my mother actually grew up in Mumbai. So that influence also sort of percolated. I want to get a brief account of his life and I want to understand what is so unique about him that his myth, his legend, his glory survives generations and centuries. Is that a fair proposal, madam?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So set me up. Tell me the context in which Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj exists, is born, rules. Tell me.
So can I start a little bit of background with
Yes.
a little bit of background,
Yes.
what was happening in India? So 900 years before Shivrai, I call him Shivarai, okay? So it's very respectful. Rai means Raja.
Right.
With love and affection, Maharashtrians, we call him Shivarai.
Okay.
So 900 years, see, it was a mayhem in our country that time. First, 900 years before he was born, Muhammad Qasim had come and he had defeated King of Sindh. Later on, the serious intrusions started 600 years before Shivrai was born.
Okay.
Who came? Jayapala was ruling, King Jayapala, very good king, Hindu king, was really ruling between Hindu Kush mountains to Chenab river, that entire kingdom.
So that's 2 hours west from
Now
here.
that Hindu Kush mountains run through Afghanistan and Pakistan and I don't know, Iran also.
Yeah. And so from there, and
Yeah.
Chenab is in Pakistan?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the part where Jayapal
where
was ruling.
Jayapala was ruling. Jayapal.
Right.
So that time when Mahmud, now see, let me first clear everything that I am not against any religion. Okay.
Right.
I lived in 3 countries where 3 religions were dominant.
Yeah.
And I have friends from all the religions. So this is just the history
This is a historical account.
Yes. What I am saying.
Yes.
Now India our land was very fertile and it had great wealth. The temples had accumulated great wealth, okay, including gold and silver. Somnath temple's bell, which was made of gold, weighed 10,000 kilograms. So we were so rich.
Right.
But with richness, what comes? A little laid back attitude and envy among the kingdoms.
Right.
Okay. But Jayapala was guarding the gates of our country.
Right.
But that time it was again many kingdoms.
Yes.
So this Muhammad from Ghazni comes and he is defeated many times because Jayapala had elephants and he could crush the enemy, marching enemy. But he persists, Muhammad from Ghazni persists and he is against idolaters, the Murti Pujak. And he defeats Jayapala, takes his children and grandchildren as hostages. Not only that, all the rivers and wells of that kingdom become blood-stained. You cannot even drink water. So much slaughter happened. And 700,000 carts of gold and artifacts were taken from Jayapala's kingdom to
The Ghazni.
Ghazni.
Yeah. So there's 7 lakh carts.
7 lakh carts
Wow.
in Indian money.
Yeah.
Imagine how wealthy it must have been. And that Ghazni guy was also interested in import of Arabian horses, so make money. A lot of things were happening because cavalry was the only
Horsepower. Like the only way. Right.
And cavalry was the means of battle.
Yes, right.
The heart of battle, you know.
Yes.
You couldn't battle without that. So he came and the defeat, Jayapala committed suicide. And Jayapala's end flung open the gates of Hindustan. You see? And we were rich and we were from, I don't know, for some reason naive, and the kingdoms hated other kingdoms.
Internally.
Internally there was politics. So
Right.
if then came after this Muhammad of Ghazni, he also broke Somnath temple. I think he killed 50,000 people there who had come to pray at the temple because temple was so huge.
Wow.
Yeah, massacred. Okay, then comes Muhammad from Ghor, who defeated Prithviraj Chauhan.
Right. Very famous.
Yeah.
10,
he
11 times, right?
After him comes, now there is a list of that. After him comes, I think, Kutubuddin Aibak. And after that comes Balban. Very cruel. They want to kill on the religion basis. They were like, they used to build minars of the skulls. And to show off, you see. And the minars of the skulls were used to be there standing in front of their courts. So there in 15th century, Vasco da Gama, there also some mayhem was happening. Vasco da Gama arrived at the west
To
coast,
Goa, yeah,
Konkan,
right.
Goa, south of Konkan.
Right.
And then they saw, my gosh, he's making so much money in trading, spices, our own spice. They had fleet of ships, you know, merchant ships, which we did not have. So he was making so much money that finally Goa became so beautiful that it started competing with the capital of Portugal. Lisbon.
Yes.
And it was known as Rome of the Orient. Yeah. And how they became rich? They were dealing in Gulam trading. Okay. Then they came and the Jesuits, okay,
Yeah.
the religious people, they were so cruel that they wanted all the people from that area to convert into Christianity. And then they started with Inquisition chambers. And if you did not comply, then you will be admitted into Inquisition chamber. And your relatives, the eyelids of the relatives will be plucked and they have to watch their relatives being, tortured, killed. Not only that, they even pulled out little babies from the wombs. And the husband had to watch. That's very cruel. So it was like, here was the Muslim invasions, here were the Christian invasions.
Right.
And the north of India, Delhi was completely gone to the dynasties, you know.
Yeah. The Delhi Sultanate had come by
The Sultanate, yeah. Then arrived the Mughals. First, I think Babur had come, then his son Humayun, and then his son Akbar. Akbar took the empire to another level. See, unless you know the Mughal Empire, you do not know Shivrai. Unless you know Aurangzeb, you do not know Shivrai. So you have to first know how they operated.
Right.
In the beginning, when this Islamic invasion started coming, their warriors were extremely sharp. And they were great cavalrymen. They were mercenaries. Why? What was in their heart? Did they have any patriotic feeling? No. They did not have. For which country they were fighting?
Right.
What feeling they had? In the beginning, if they looted something, more than 50% of them were allowed to keep. In some cases, 80% of the wealth they were allowed to keep. And only 20% or 25 or 30% went to the king or whoever was their leader.
Right.
So they were very sharp, and how much looting happened over the centuries, there was nothing left to loot. Then finally what they had to depend on, like for example, after Akbar, the looting is over now, finished, you have looted the entire country. Now on what, how do you generate money? A nation needs money to run, right? How do you need, what money, how do you create money? By taxing.
Right.
What was the industry then to tax?
Agriculture.
That's it.
Right.
Main agriculture industry. So you tax them. And you tax them so much that finally the farmers started starving. How do you think Taj Mahal was built? Oh, the pratik of love, right? It's people go there, young couples go there with so much emotion filled there in their skull or head.
Right.
But how was it built? I'll tell you how. Like, the farmers were so tortured in the Mughal Empire, Akbar not exception. Nobody is an exception here. That the letters are there in Mr. Gajanan Mehendale, from whose I used 2 main books to research on Shivrai. See, unless you know the Mughal Empire, you do not know Shivrai. Unless you know Aurangzeb, you do not know Shivrai. So you have to first know how they operated.
Right.
What they write, the tax collectors are actually Watandars. They are Hindus. Okay. Most of the Watandars in India were the sons of the soil.
Right.
It's a hereditary title. That if I'm a man and I'm a Watandar, my son will get that title. So it is not on merit. So what these emperors write to them, that if the farmer by some reason gives any excuse of not paying, if the rain is good and he gives excuse for any other reasons for not paying the tax, take away his women and children and sell them as slave and give us the money. See what they did, these empires and the sultans, the emperors and the sultan, the badshahs and the shahs, and including the Vijayanagar Empire, okay? I'm not excluding the Hindu Empire. They used to give land as grant the piece of land to a Jagirdar, who is also called Mansabdar in the Mughal Empire. So, you are the emperor or a sultan and you give me 100 villages. What you tell me? Medha, you take this 100 villages or 1000 villages, you collect the Shet Sara from the Watandars, okay, and you maintain a cavalry for me. Okay.
Yeah.
So, maintain a cavalry for me. So, when you are in trouble, I bring my cavalry to the field.
So you are almost like a middle manager?
You are outsourcing your army from me.
So you're a contractor of sorts.
I am a contractor.
Who's also managing these places on my behalf.
Exactly.
Right.
No, then what happens? I become, see, the poor farmer or a balute or the artisan like carpenter, a goldsmith or blacksmith, whatever is needed, because a village used to be a unit by itself. It could function without anybody.
Sure.
But they had to pay the tax to the Watandar.
Sure.
And Watandar will pay some of its tax to the Jagirdar. And Jagirdar will maintain the cavalry.
Theek.
20% of that tax will go to the king. This is happening for 2000 years.
Okay.
Why I am telling you, why Shivrai is special.
Right.
Okay, that is why I am giving you this. Now these Zamindars and Watandars, they were the de facto rulers of that area. How many Mansabdars were there when Aurangzeb came to power, you know?
No.
8,000.
8,000. Who owned sets of villages, basically.
Out of that, some were doctors, some were advisors. So they just got the salary.
Theek.
Those who were assigned as a Mansabdar for the army, they were assigned the land. And those Mansabdars ruled that land. So even if you say Mughal Empire was so big, but it was 80% of it was ruled by the Mansabdars. How much ever people say that, it was not a military rule, the Badshah looked into it, but it is not true. Because these Mansabdars became so rich that some of them had palaces like the Mughal empires, Badshahs. They had Diwan-e-Aam and Diwan-e-Khas, and they really ruled that area.
Right. And this is how maybe they also accumulated power eventually to challenge other Mansabdars or whatever as well.
No, and Mansabdars fought with Mansabdars.
Yeah,
they were jealous.
Yeah,
of course, तुम्हारे पास कितना है? Now, if Aurangzeb, if Shah Jahan sent his son Aurangzeb to to acquire Kabul, he will collect 20 Mansabdars with their cavalry. But they were not getting along with each other,
Right.
the Mansabdars.
Right.
There was so this is how it, but Deccan also had zamindars and watandars. Okay, watandars Hindu watandars also terrorized the Janata. They terrorized because they had to extract maximum money. And these watandars later on became so rich that they built fortresses. And they had their own sentinels. Naturally, if suppose somebody is going around with guns in your area and there is no other boss there and nobody you can take justice, ask for justice, you will be scared of that gang, right?
Agree.
So similarly.
And I understand it's like, when money comes in, when resources get accumulated, eventually display of power becomes more accessible.
Yeah.
So you start off as somebody who's collecting for the king, but then eventually you have enough money to be like, now I want to live like this.
Yeah.
And this is how status hierarchies work around.
Yeah,
probably.
work around.
Yeah. We've seen this with Game of Thrones is a great example where you see some of this.
So this is even worse than Game of Thrones.
Worse than Game of Thrones, yes.
Worse than Game. And it happened over the centuries. It's not just like, some period, small period.
Yeah.
So this, and even in England that time, or the same system, feudal lot. 2000 years before Shivarai was born, feudal lot system existed in the Western world as well as in North India and in the Deccan.
Everywhere.
Including Vijayanagara, Hindu empire of Vijayanagara.
Right. You are only setting up the context for the time period in which...
Born.
Yes. Shivaji Maharaj is born. Yes.
He's
right.
born. So when he was born...
What year is that?
I think it's 1630.
1630.
He was born at Shivaneri.
Mm-hmm.
That time, a year before most of the Maratha satraps or sardars, I would call, fighter families, they either worked for the Mughal Empire or they worked for the Sultanates, Deccan Sultanates. Shivarai's father had great dreams of independence, but they were cut short. He had dreams. But a year before Shivarai was born, his mother's parents, Jadhav family, they were working for Nizam Shahi. Okay, which share borders with the Mughal Empire. It's in the north, Ahmednagar, where I was born that time. So now Shivarai's mother's parents I'm talking about.
Nana Nani.
Yeah. So the Nana had 2 or 3 sons. So they were all fighting for Nizam Shahi. So one day they went to the Darbar to pay their respect to Nizam. I think it was Burham Nizam Shah. He was a drunkard. Somebody said that these people are going to leave you and join the Mughal Empire because their borders are touching, you see. So when they kneeled before Nizam to pay their respects, means Jizau Sahib's, means his mother Jizau, her father and brother, when they kneeled, they were beheaded.
Okay.
Killed, alas. And I think their wives went sati. So Shivarai's mother had left with no family. And she was expecting that time. She had to run away to Shivaneri that time. In his Jagir. So even Shahaji Raje was given a Jagir by Nizam Shahi to keep cavalry.
Sure.
Like olden days. See, then what happened? Adil Shahi and Mughal Empire joined hands. They became allies, and they finished Nizam Shahi. It's a big story. They finished Nizam Shahi, but I will not go into detail.
Right.
They finished Nizam Shahi, and they axed Nizam Shahi into 2. I think southern parts of Bhima went to Adil Shahi, and northern parts of Bhima went to Mughal Empire. Okay. That time Shivarai must have been hardly 2-3 years old.
Right.
This all happened. Or 5 years maybe.
And so the kingdom that rules his family, or like his father is a Jagirdar to Nizam Shahi, it is being broken when he's about 2.
5.
Or 5.
I'm
like
not sure.
Infancy,
5 or 6. Infancy when he's
right.
small boy.
Yes.
Now what happens when the area above, before that, when Shahaji Raje showed seeds of independence, some kind of, because he
Flair,
had
right.
a flair, he had a great Maratha following.
Right.
That time, Shah Jahan was very upset. A kafir cannot show. Why? Why a kafir cannot show seeds of independence? Why? Because then the other kafirs, the Rajputs, the Jats, the Bundelas, they will all realize that they can also do the same.
It's symbolic.
It's a soch.
Yeah, it's symbolic.
It's symbolic.
Yes.
So no kafir should raise his head or his sword and show that he can or she can independently rule.
Right.
That soch itself, they have to nip it in the bud.
Right.
So anyway, then this was axed, and his chicanery went to the Mughals.
Okay.
Part of Nizam Shah, chicanery, that side Junnar, that side went to the Mughals, and the part below Bhima, like for example Pune, the Mawal area and town of Pune came to Adil Shahi.
Mm-hmm.
Then Shivraj's father had surrendered to Adil Shahi. So he shifted his wife and little boy to Pune. That's how Shivraj came to Pune. And Pune was devastated because Shah Jahan had told Adil Shahi to destroy his spirit by destroying his Jagir. So it was already famine. Famine was raging there in that area. There were no rains. Famine was raging so bad that the carcasses of the animals, they used to take out the bones, make powder of that and sell it as wheat flour or jawar flour.
Whoa.
Yeah, so from that
It got bad.
it was really bad.
Yeah, right.
So this little boy comes to this place
Right.
and that's how.
So, now, in this circumstance, was Shivaji Maharaj already showing signs of extraordinary ability at that age?
It's very difficult to say, like I don't believe Bakhars which exaggerate.
Right.
But I feel, that region, now there was no, this Jagirdar was there. So the king always appointed a Subedar to keep an eye on Jagirdar. And Jagirdar will collect the taxes from Watandar.
Right.
Now you know this system.
Right.
Watandars are sons of soil. Jagirdar can be anything, Hindu or Muslim. Okay, and Subedar was always a Muslim. Who will keep an eye on?
The entire operation.
The entire operation.
Right.
But Adil Shah had not appointed any Subedar in this region, in near Pune and 1,000 villages, which was mountainous region, because he was not getting any, because agriculture was destroyed. No?
Right.
So what taxes he will collect?
Right.
Who will collect?
Right.
So there was no Subedar. Plus, Shivraj's father was so many, about 700-800 miles away.
Right.
In the south.
Right.
So Shivraj grew up in total freedom. He had nobody looking over him and telling him this, do this, do this. I feel that when he went around, he realized there was a administrative manager of Shivraj called Dadaji Konddev. He also was there, and Netaji Palkar had come, another Saradar of Shahaji Raje, to train the little boy.
To train him
In martial, in sword fighting
and so on.
But Dadaji Konddev actually took this little boy into the forest and pleaded with the farmers to come back and till. They said, no, it's not auspicious. So Dadaji had a trick he wanted to play a trick on this farmer's emotions. He said, come, we'll make that land auspicious. So he made little Shivraj to till the land with a golden plough, small one, and said, now it's auspicious. He declared it. It's auspicious now. You can do. And he also gave them prizes to if they killed wolves or foxes, or any like those, because all the jungle had come into the city.
Right.
So slowly the farmers returned, the agriculture started, And they had little training to the villagers. So if Adil Shahi soldiers come, so at least, because agriculture is a business which can thrive only in peace. It needs at least 7 to 8 months for the crops to grow.
Right.
You cannot have an enemy coming in the middle.
Right. Right.
So
right.
it was all psychological. So Shivrai must have seen what his people are going through. And he was a cute look. I must have been, and first time people were meeting whom they can consider as their king. First time somebody was looking at them with love. His mother was very good to the farmers, apparently. His mother treated the farmers kindly. She even cooked. Sometimes the food went from her kitchen.
Right.
She had little money she spent on the farmers, So first time you experience love.
Right.
You see? So that must have grown and then she might have told him stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana, and she might have said that Mahabharata war lasted only for a little period. But this war which we are going to face is happening from centuries. So there is a difference. It's far bigger than Mahabharata war. The entire story is amplified. It's like 1,000 Mahabharatas happening over the centuries. So she might have said, because I don't know, nobody is writing. But I feel the decisions he later took when he grew up, which were not taken for more than 2,000 years in entire
Subcontinent,
region,
yes.
subcontinent,
Right.
including England,
Right.
including in Europe,
Right.
where Jagirdari, the feudal lord system was
Prevalent.
prevalent.
Yeah.
So what I find very, what were the practices? Mansabdari, Jagirdari system.
Right.
Or in Hindu kingdom of Vijayanagara, they were called Nayaks, the landowners.
Sure.
Okay. And another is slave trade. Okay. Another thing, third thing, making money, go into the enemy territory and abduct and loot them, abduct their women and children and sell them.
Right.
Okay.
Slavery, yeah.
So it was a pattern which is happening for so many years. At least we know for 600 years before Shivrai was born.
Right. So I have a question. What is so charming to you as a biographer about
Shivrai.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
Shivaji Maharaj,
I'll tell
yes,
you why.
Yes.
There are 4 or 5 things. One is he changed the military system. How he changed the military system? He said, I don't want these Jagirdars. Jagirdari system should be abolished. Then what is the alternative? I will not grant any land to any Jagirdar. Then what he will do? Now what is our current system of, we have field marshal, then we have general, then we have major, lieutenant general, then we have brigadier. So what is this hierarchy?
Yeah.
A system where there are divisions, regiments, squadrons, attached to that. You won't believe Shivrai created that system, having a Sarnobat. Then Panchahazari under him, many Panchahazaris. And under the Panchahazaris, there are divisions, under the Panchahazari. And then under the Panchahazari, there are Hazaris, having 1,000 cavalrymen or infantrymen. Then there are Jumledars. Then there are Havaldars. This system never existed before. This was created by Shivrai, which I find very astonishing. How?
Very
From where did he
imaginative.
learn? Where did he learn?
Right.
So that's why I do not call anybody his guru. He was his own guru. So we don't know how this,
He actually learned this.
how, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So his was and all from Sarnobat to the soldier, everybody will be paid from his treasury.
None of that tax collecting circulation.
Now
Yeah.
comes the tax collection. Watandars were, hereditary Watandars were ruling, So first he wanted to reduce, we say charbi kam karna. He wanted to reduce their powers. So he demolished their fortresses, he took away their sentinels, and he appointed his own tax collectors so that the tax will go to his treasury from where the soldiers will be paid.
Right.
So he is not going to outsource the army,
Right.
which I find it amazing. This system did not exist at least 2000 years before Shivaraj was born. None of the Hindu kingdoms, none of the Muslim kingdoms. And he was not against Islamic invaders per se. He was even against Hindu Watandars who had become very arrogant in power. So he wanted to remove the Hindu Watandars, he wanted to remove Hindu and Muslim Jagirdars, and he wanted to create a system where civil administration is completely different from the military administration.
So he separated the civil and the military.
Yeah, otherwise if you are a Jagirdar, you are ruling that entire area as a king and you are a military man.
Right.
So the entire area is under military rule. Though so many people say that it was not so and there were laws, but I feel, after reading for 20 years of studies, it's just not possible because the farmer never knew who his king is. It does not...
It doesn't matter to the farmer.
It didn't matter to him at all.
Yeah.
He only knew Watandar and then sometimes visiting Jagirdar. They didn't know who their king is and what it matters, whether it is Mughal Empire ruling them or Adil Shahi ruling them. They have to pay taxes to the Watandar. That system Shivaraj wanted to change. He wanted to completely... everything should be controlled by his government. And the money has to go into his treasury. And every full moon day, his soldiers will be paid from the treasury. Now imagine, when when he started with this 1,000 villages, his Shetsara, he collected 300 rupees per village. Okay. Little money, huh?
Yeah.
How much Mughal Empire collected?
How much?
And what was the military budget of Mansabdars? You know that?
No.
So, that time, see, there is on paper, one figure, it is 22 crores. But in Mr. Mehendale's book, Hasil, what comes in the hand? क्या हासिल किया तुमने? In Hindi में बोलते हैं ना, आपने क्या हासिल किया? Hasil, which comes into the hand, was 12 to 15 crores of rupees. And each rupee is not a paper money. Or you can send it by your, what you call?
Google Pay.
Google Pay.
Yeah,
नहीं,
right.
ऐसा नहीं होता है. 1 rupee was made up of almost 1 tola of pure silver.
10 grams of pure silver.
Of course, 10 grams.
Yeah.
You convert that 12 or to 15 crores into amount of silver.
Which is even more.
I think it comes to about a couple of lakh kgs. I don't know what. I have got that calculation is there in the book.
Right.
If you convert that into gold, how much gold you could buy those days? You needed about, say, 10 silver coins to buy 1 tola of gold.
Right.
Or 5, I don't know what.
Right.
So, it comes to 98,000 kilos of gold or something like that. The today's cost of that gold is $3 to $3.5 billion.
That's so interesting. Yeah. That's the amount of military budgets the Jagirdars had and the Mughal Empire had.
Yeah, but 20% went to the
king,
king.
the empire.
Yeah. From where they built your Taj Mahals and your Fatehpur Sikri monuments and your whatever.
Yeah, old fort here and stuff like that.
Whatever.
Right.
Okay, from there they built. So that kind of money they dealt in.
So the most charming thing or the most interesting feature is the fact that he regimented his military in a very imaginative way. He set the course for how militaries should be in the future.
Exactly. The entire modern military system is based on that.
On that one shift that Shivaji Maharaj made.
Correct.
And then secondly, he revamped the administrative and the taxation policy to completely redo civil administration and separate it from military administration.
Correct. And no Watandar, no tax collector will have any right.
Right.
If there is a problem with the farmer, he was very good to the farmers. People are not fools to love him. I am not a fool to love that man who was born 350 years ago
Right.
and spent 20 years of my life studying him.
Right. He was a very just ruler in that way.
But that's not, yeah. And another thing, you know what is our military budget today?
No, I have no idea. What's a few thousand, 10,000 crores?
75 to 80 billion dollars.
Okay. Wow.
I think so.
Yeah.
And we have 30 lakh people in our military.
Right.
15 lakh or whatever, 15 lakh or 1.5 million.
Yeah, 78 billion. You're very right.
Yeah, am I right?
That's insane how right you are about it. Yes, please go on.
So this out of 30 lakh defense personnel,
Right.
15 are active on duty. 15 lakh.
Yes.
Okay. So 15 lakh. And in Mughal Empire, how many were active on duty?
I have no
That
idea.
time 500,000.
So like
So
5
when Aurangzeb came to power, he had 500,000 people. Out of that, 200,000 were well equipped, heavy duty cavalry. 200,000 under 6 to 7,000 mansabdars. But that is all outsourced. Okay, but they had that.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
he had that. And how much Shivarai had to take on his enemy, who was so powerful. When he started, he must have had 200-300 soldiers just training, just to
Yeah.
so infantrymen that too.
Right.
Then he had to acquire the horses. How he generated this system, and all his life he only lived for 50 years. So in that 50 and ruled must be from the age of, he must have, and at the age of 15 only he had ideas. So in that 20, 25, 30 years, he acquired 30,000 agile cavalrymen, okay, and 40,000 infantrymen, which is in charts I have given in pie charts. I created as I worked in marketing, no? So I
Right.
always wanted to explain in
Right.
bar
Charts.
charts,
Yeah, yeah.
Excel charts. So, and there were Shibandi or garrison, fort garrisons. Now, when he died, he had 350 forts.
Right.
And they are garrisons. So imagine this 1 lakh infantrymen and cavalrymen and including 25,000 of fort garrisons, all should be paid on full moon day every month.
So twice.
No, full moon day is once a month.
Full moon is once a month? One. Yeah, right.
I hope so. It's like
Yeah, 14 days to new moon and then 14 days to full moon. So
you have
once,
to
yeah,
put.
right.
So you have to pay them. It's not a joke, you know. It's just not a joke.
Right.
Even Badshahs and Shahs couldn't do it. That's why they said, okay, take these villages and maintain.
You do it on your own
You did
time.
on your own.
Right.
It is not a joke to maintain. But he maintained that. So this I find, oh my gosh.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
How did Shivaji Maharaj have such a dramatic rise to power? What is the story of that? Because he went from being in Pune, in a village which is filled with babul trees, and the villagers are all, they've ran away, they're not doing any agriculture. He has 2 teachers in Dadaji and
I wouldn't in
Netaji.
teachers also.
Yeah, right, but like
whatever
counsellors
they
of sorts.
he could counsel them.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so-
That's also, he had very little going for him when he was 5 or 6.
Very little.
Yeah. And then he has such a dramatic rise to power. And what truly happens in that period between 5 and maybe 20?
So he realized that, see, what happened in that time, the Islamic sultanates and the empire, nobody, especially Mughal Empire, nobody attacked it. It was a sacrilege to attack their land. It's a holy land, you know, under the Islamic rule. You cannot attack it. Nobody had. So they had become kind of complacent. That who can attack? Smug, you call it in English. मुझे कौन क्या कर सकता है? So that time, Shivrai realized that forts are very important, you know. 100 people on fort can fight off at least 1,000 people on land. They have that hill forts especially. So he realized those hill forts are very dilapidated. So he somehow he acquired. See, as a Jagirdar, he cannot own forts. He can only own land for Shetsara, agriculture.
right.
But he realized that those forts were used by Adil Shah's fort keepers as brothels, or they were just getting ruined. So he paid somehow because he was started getting Shetsara now. No, the agriculture industry started. He started getting little money from the farmers. Then all the artisans like blacksmiths, goldsmiths, barbers, then woodcutters all started gathering their pujaris, guravs they called, all these balutedars.
Right.
Those are helping the village.
Right.
Not in agriculture industry. They get their share from the produce.
Sure.
So they started gathering and it started thriving. He started getting little money. His father also must have sent him little money. I'm not very sure. Must have sent. So some of the, there were so many forts around. Like Kondana, Torna, all those, what he did, Purandar. Some people happily gave him the fort and some people he bribed. So bloodless acquisition of the fort, and he started repairing them with little money. And they say I don't know whether it's a folklore, that he got a full, a pot full of gold when he was repairing Torna. And from that he actually built Rajgarh, repaired Rajgarh. So I don't know whether that story is true or false, but it's a folklore.
But he came across money either through the Shetsara or through his father or through pure accident, for instance, while fixing Torna. And that allowed him to acquire and build and repair more forts.
He didn't build. He acquired and repaired. Okay.
And in doing that, he acquired some amount of military power.
Then he trained people under the guidance of Netaji Palkar, and he put garrisons to this fort. So he made them fighting fit.
Right.
And then Adil Shah woke up.
And he's like, what is happening
here? What the hell?
Yeah.
So they complained to his father. So father wrote to Dadaji Kondev. Dadaji Kondev told him, boy, you cannot do this. You have to serve Adil Shah. We are the Jagirdars.
Yeah.
He didn't listen. So Shahaji Raja said, my son is not listening to me. What you want to do, what you do.
Now it's like your...
I cannot do anything. They say he was even put in jail and all that.
Right.
There he did so well in Adil Shahi to acquire the temple towns of Karnataka that he was given the title of Maharaja. So that angered a lot of people there. And he had...
By he we mean...
Shivrai's father, Shahaji Raje.
Yes.
He did very well for Adil Shah.
Right.
And he acquired a lot of temple towns of Karnataka for Adil Shahi.
Right.
So he was given the title of Maharaja,
which
angered many people in Adil Shahi's
court. Right.
So there was an anti-Bhosle lobby formed there.
Okay.
So this is all there.
Internal court politics of that time.
Internal court politics. Yeah. Afzal Khan was one of them. Then another Ghorpade was also there. So they say that Afzal Khan and Ghorpade caught him and brought him to Adil Shah's court, and he was imprisoned, and all that story is there. But I don't know how much true it is.
Okay.
And then to relieve him from the prison, Shivrai had to give away Kondana. This is kind of story.
This is a folklore?
I don't know whether this is true or false.
Yeah,
but
we don't
it is
know,
there.
It's an existing narrative.
Whatever history I'm telling you in numbers, like about military budget, Shetsara, this is all in the history books, which is hardcore. And the military system Shivrai formed is hardcore.
Okay.
History, hardcore history.
Right.
It's not folklore.
Right.
Okay.
So what is happening at this point is that Shivaji Maharaj is repairing all these forts, and he's building garrisons, and he's training men to be militarily fit. And Adil Shahi gets very angry, and then Adil Shahi reaches out to the father. The father reaches out to Netaji Palkar.
Dadoji Kondev.
Oh, Dadaji
Dadaji or Dadoji.
Right. They reach out to one of the people near Shivaji Maharaj, and they say, boss, like there's nothing, he's not listening.
He's not listening.
Then what happens?
So another thing I want to tell you why people must have loved him. Now
Right.
what happened is Watandars or Patils. Watandars were a village is owned by a Patil and the entire, if there are cluster of villages, is by Deshmukhs.
Right.
I'm from a Deshmukh family, Watandar family. And we still had our the land granted to us in Ahmednagar, which is not there on, it was still for 2-3 years ago, it was on my name.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
yeah.
So I can always say Watandars were a little haramis because I'm one of them. Yeah, you
I can tell you the truth because I'm from
No,
inside.
I'm from inside.
Yes, right.
No, I mean not all. Some must have been kind.
Sure,
but,
people are people.
But people are people, but they were all for power.
Right.
And nobody has complained against me yet because I am a Deshmukh.
We'll begin the process. No, look, I think people are people, and people, no matter what position they are in, some percentage is kind, some percentage is cruel.
No, but majority of them were power hungry.
And power
As
is a
usually,
pathology.
pathology.
Yeah. Power is a pathology.
Pathologic.
Yeah. If you want to be in
See,
power.
any hand is corrupted if
Yeah.
it touches power. And why I love Shivrai? Because he is an exception.
Exception to that very powerful rule.
That rule.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That is why and that's not just one thing. I like him. There are many more things. For example, now anyway, you want to continue with
Yeah,
this
the story, I'm very fond of the fact
Yeah.
that we are, so what happens then?
Then Adil Shahi attacks him when he's 17, 18. They send one Fateh Khan with 5,000 or 10,000 cavalrymen. So what Shivrai does, he goes and sits on top of Purandar with all his friends. He has childhood friends whom he is trained.
Yeah, right.
In that friend, one Baji Pasalkar is there. He's 60-year-old. They go and sit on Purandar. This fellow comes. Now, my frontiers start with this warfare, frontiers. So, and then he realizes that he has to keep his cavalry, heavy-duty cavalry down. They have to climb up. They have to climb and catch him.
Right.
So, they start climbing.
Right.
Keep their cavalry down. They tether the horses there and they climb.
Right.
But what these people do, they actually shower them with stones
Right.
and boulders
From the top of the...
from top.
Yeah.
That's what, no?
Yeah.
So half of them are killed. I think his Fateh Khan is killed, I don't know. But they run away.
Right.
So this is his first real victory against Adil
This
Shahi.
sounds like a fairly easy victory, strategically won.
Strategically won.
This one with the mind, not with the muscle.
So he always did that. He went to one fort where they cannot, he is the king.
Right.
See, in that area, you have to be fully control of yourself.
Right.
Like that he did with Afzal Khan also.
Right.
So this is his first victory. Then Adil Shah woke up fully. That this is an enemy in the making.
Yeah. And you want to nip
And
it
then,
right now.
you have to nip it in the bud.
Right.
But he could never because Adil Shah fell ill, I think,
Okay.
that time.
Huh.
And he died. And then I think Ali Adil Shah came on. And then Aurangzeb also was sent to the Deccan as the Subedar of the Mughal occupied Deccan with Aurangabad as his, that time it was known as Khidki, I think. Khidki is window. Window to the Deccan.
Oh, very interesting. That's why it's called Aurangabad.
Aurangabad is because Aurangzeb named it.
I always wondered.
It's Khidki, it was known as Khadki or Khidki. There is one area still there in Aurangabad, Khidki.
So take me back. So he wins his first war at 17 with very strategic climbing on top of the fortress, and from there he's just throwing rocks. He's using height.
Baji Pasalkar is killed in that.
Oh, he's killed in that.
In that battle. That is full history. Huh?
Right.
It's not folklore.
No, yes.
Then what does Shivrai do? He's very sharp. You know what he wants to do. If he cannot expand, he wants to expand his kingdom. And there is one valley of Javli. Okay, that Javli valley connects his Jagir, we call his land. Granted land is called Jagir.
Yeah.
To Konkan. Now, at that small age, I mean in 20s,
Yeah.
he knows he cannot go up north. Mughal Empire, he cannot fight pitched battles. Pitched battles means आमने सामने. तुम आओ सामने, मैं आता है सामने.
Small army, he cannot do that.
He cannot do that.
Yeah.
He cannot go to east because he cannot fight pitched battles against Adil Shahi.
Yes.
All he can expand his
Area of
Swaraj
control.
or area of rule is only towards Konkan, west. Konkan is again very mountainous. And there the heavy cavalries of the empire and the sultanates are like a ship stuck in sand.
It's useless. You can't move it fast enough.
So,
Yeah.
and also he has ideas about navy. I'll tell you why. So he says, okay, I will go to Konkan. But how I'll go to Konkan? This valley I must first acquire. Then only, because it's not like highways today, na? You can just take a car and go wherever. Okay. So he has to find a way, he has to acquire this valley to enter Konkan in large numbers. But who is ruling that valley? A Maratha called Morays. Chandra Rao More. And he's very arrogant. And he is, Adil Shahi is very close to Adil Shahi and he calls himself a Raja. He also sends Watandars into Shivrai's territory to collect taxes. And he also collects large taxes because when at the port, lot of goods enter the west coast in the ports. And the Banjara community who owns 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 oxen, they carry those goods through his terrain to go to reach Bijapur, Adil Shahi's kingdom, capital. So he collects taxes from them also. He's become very rich. So that the story, my frontier story starts from there. How Shivrai takes over that valley. Now that story is too detailed.
Right.
At that time, Aurangzeb is attacking Hyderabad, the Golconda. See here, Maratha is attacking a Maratha.
Right.
And there, Aurangzeb is attacking the kingdom Qutub Shahi.
Right.
So, you don't call it. It's power. It's not about religion.
Yeah, it's straight power games at that point.
There, Aurangzeb wants to acquire lot of money from Qutub Shahi to expand his army when and if the war of succession happens, to eliminate his brothers. So when people call the leftist or rightist, I don't know, when they call Shivrai a dacoit, then what the Mughal have done, what you call them?
Yeah. This revisionist history is quite pointless. Yeah.
So that is why I decided I will devote my life to Shivrai's story, Mughal Maratha.
So I understand that the fight he has in the valley is a longer story, but we are still at Shivaji Maharaj being in his early 20s.
Early 20s.
Right? And I'm sure him at his peak was probably when he was 40.
40, 45.
40, 45. He's achieved not only a royal peak in the sense that he is a very just and a very kind ruler in the way that he turned out to be, but also military peak. Right? And I'm getting very fascinated by the story. So what happens?
There are lots of things to tell you about Shivrai. Why I like him. You know?
Right.
What is his vision? We will carry on with this story. So he acquires that valley. Then he enters the Konkan. Then he acquires lot of forts in Konkan area. Acquires lot of territories. He acquires ports. What he cannot fight are the Siddhis from Fort Janjira. Siddhis is another problem. See, there are Portuguese in Goa territory. Then the Samans, the Marathas, who are also against Shivrai. Then there is Siddhis from Janjira Fort. Janjira Fort is huge fort. 2,000 Siddhis who had come from Ethiopia, which was then known as Abyssinia, Ethiopian kingdom. They are staying there. They just emerge from the fort, loot the people, abduct the women and children and go back to the fort. And they are also involved in trade of slaves. So he has many enemies here, you see. The Portuguese, the Samans, the Desais and the Siddhis. But he fights, and some are Adil Shahi people. But he fights and he acquires a lot of land. If he cannot if he cannot acquire Janjira, he builds Sindhudurg. That is the fort he builds. And also after More, he gets a lot of money from More's treasury. He builds Pratapgarh fort in the valley of Javli. That time his ministers might have asked, in my book they asked him, what is the ROI? Why are you building? The forts are built near towns to protect the town, near fertile land to protect the land, near the confluence of river to protect the water. Why are you building this fort, Pratapgarh, in a valley of Javli where cavalries cannot even enter? What is your ROI, return on investment?
Right. And what did he say?
But history shows what was his return on investment.
And what was it?
Because when Afzal Khan comes,
Right.
now what happens? Ali Adil Shah is a adopted child of Muhammad Adil Shah. Now Aurangzeb wants Adil Shah. He is his own agenda.
Right.
He wants to win the war of succession. So he wants power. He wants money.
Right.
How will he expand? He is not getting any money from his father.
Right.
The father doesn't like him.
Right.
Father's in his father's eyes, the crown prince is Dara Shikoh, who has never won a battle. So Aurangzeb is, and Dara stays in Agra fort with his father. So father, he is also poisoning his father's mind against Aurangzeb, naturally, because one of them will survive.
Yeah.
So father is not sending much money to Aurangzeb, who is stationed at Aurangabad, and who wants to expand his army. So he wants from Qutub Shah and Adil Shah. So he wants to acquire them. And they were actually paying some tribute to the king through the emperor, which they have not paid for many years. So he wants to collect all that money and expand.
Right.
Before he goes to north, he writes the letter to Ali Adil Shah that you are an adopted child of Muhammad Adil Shah. So you are a illegitimate king, sultan of Adil Shahi. So if you do not remove this kafir from growing big, I will eliminate you and your mother, Badi Sahiba. I'll eliminate you, I'll take over Bijapur. So he sends, this Adil Shah sends Afzal Khan to kill or capture Shivaji.
Maharaj.
And Shivaji goes, runs and sits in Pratapgarh. That's the story. And he actually tells Afzal Khan, if you don't come to Pratapgarh, I am not available. That time he ensnares Afzal Khan into the valley of Javli. You ask me why I am so enamored by, or why he is my muse,
Right.
my story, which I worked for years.
Right.
Another thing, you have heard of human trafficking.
Yeah.
Huh? Now we talk about human trafficking. That time when Shivaji took over Carnatic country, the coast of Cholamandala, okay, that time he called the Dutch traders who were making a lot of money in the slave trade. He told them, in my area, humans will not be sold. So if you do not stop your slave trade, you will be eliminated. So why I feel so much for Shivaji that we talk about human trafficking now, he thought of then when nobody thought about it and everybody wanted to make money out of slave trade.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So on humanitarian grounds and even on the level of military strategy, on the level of administrative abilities, I see that Shivaji Maharaj was exceptional. But what makes him this legend, this glorious, undying figure in Indian
because
history?
see, when there is one more thing I want to tell you. There was no military law. You could go and abduct women and children and sell them for slaves.
Right.
In Shivaji's army, he is the first one to start army rule or army justice. If you as much touch a woman or a child in the enemy territory, you will be killed. Khalas.
Right.
So that military law also important. He is the first man to bring military law. Otherwise, it was a perk of a soldier to abduct women and children from the enemy territory. Because under the Mansabdars or Jagirdars, many Jagirdars never paid the salary to their soldiers. Go to the enemy territory and loot.
So the greatness of Shivaji Maharaj is actually the fact that he
his love for the children, for the people.
People.
There are two instances why people love him. When he was 15, one Vatandar of Ranze Patil. This is not a folklore. This is not a folklore, okay. So what he did, he actually misbehaved with a girl and she committed suicide. So at the age of 15, he called that Patil to his darbar where little villagers used to come, his mother used to come, Dadoji used to come, maybe Netaji Palkar used to come. I don't know. There was a small, in his Lal Mahal, there was a small little place. It's not like a great red fort or anything.
Right.
It's a beautiful place. So he said, if because of you she lost her life, so you have to lose your limbs. And this was the first trial, first time a Vatandar was punished for what he has done to a woman. Otherwise they were their property. First time. So people you just imagine how much dilasa or how much relief people must have got that we have a savior.
Right.
We are not orphans anymore. So that, that must have been, that is, the love must have started. Also, see, all these soldiers, all these years were mercenaries, all these centuries.
Right. They fought without cause.
They had no cause. What Shivraj says, this is your Swaraj, not my Swaraj. Here you will get the freedom. So each soldier had a patriotic feeling in his heart, which no other soldier outside his territory had the patriotic feeling.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Paint me a picture of what Maharaj looked like at the peak of his royal career.
His territory was the west coast,
Right.
till Goa, parts of that. Of course, Janjira was still with Siddhis. He could never win Janjira.
Right.
Then Pune and nearby villages, Marble. Then Valley of Jauli. Then Carnatic, part of Carnatic country. And the Cholamandala coast. All it was his. And with 350 hill, sea and land forts.
And how was he looked at by his enemies at that point? What was their frame to
So
approach him?
Muslim historians and one Bhimsen Saxena, who wrote for Aurangzeb, they also write that whatever is this kafir, whatever you say against him, but he is very kind to women and children, and he will not bother any clergy, priest or
Holy man.
anybody.
Yeah.
And he will not destroy any holy books, and he will protect all the prayer houses of every religion. So he is very kind. So that they also reluctantly wrote.
Right.
Because they had no other way of
Describing him.
him. Yeah. And he never built monuments or great like Mughal emperors, or he never built great temples like Rajput kings, but he built a great temple in the hearts of his people.
So a king in the true sense.
King in the true sense. Yeah.
And he's also, I figured in my research, he established a navy which sort of became tradition for, like, he's known as the father of Indian Navy.
Father of Indian Navy.
Why
But his main purpose, see what used to happen, the ship merchants, okay,
Right.
had to pay heavy duty tax to the Portuguese. They used to buy passport. If not, that is for protection. Otherwise, the Portuguese will attack them. Or
Sure.
I think Portuguese and Siddhis had hand in glove. They worked.
Right.
So Siddhis will go as pirates and attack the ships.
Right.
Otherwise, you pay to the Portuguese.
Right.
And some cut must be going to
It's like protection money.
protection money.
Yeah.
So Shivraj said, मेरा country है, मेरा माल है, मेरे spices है. So and the horses which used to come from Arabia, those horses were the backbone from both Cholamandala and this coast. Because Mughal Empire was there. Mughal Empire used to get from the land route. But the Adil Shahi and Qutub Shahi had to get the horses from ship. So that was a backbone. So Shivraj said, if I can control these two and have my own ships, then I can starve them of cavalry, these kingdoms.
Right.
So he wanted to have mainly his main aim was merchant ships. And to protect those merchant ships, he wanted to have warships. He did not want to go to the sea and fight with the Western powers. He had no time for that. What he wanted to do legit business, because this is another way to get money for the nation. One is agriculture and one is ship trading. So he wanted a pie of that. He didn't want to fight sea wars. You see?
I have one more question because we are kind of short on time. And this is sort of the epilogue. I want to understand the circumstances of Shivaji Maharaj's passing and the cultural impact of his life after that. What happened? How did he die?
I feel he had typhoid because he was fighting till the end, and then he just or peptic ulcer. I'm not sure.
But it's disease.
A disease.
Yes,
yeah.
it is
Of
a
course.
disease.
Yeah, disease.
And he's fighting, and does he die in battleground or does he die in the comfort of his...
He dies in his
Bed.
bedroom.
Okay. He dies out of disease in his bedroom.
Yeah.
And how's that seen in the Swaraj? Is it a moment of like, are people upset about it?
Oh, that is a big this internal politics which cannot be said now.
Oh, okay.
It's a big politics and very enthralling. And what happens thereafter. But I will tell you one thing which is in my book, Life and Death of Sambhaji. When Putala, he's one of his wives, that she loves him and she loves her son Sambhaji also, stepson. So she dreams of him when he's on his deathbed, and she dreams. In my book, it's a fiction. It's nothing to do with history. Okay. So she asked him, what is freedom? And why are you so enamored by freedom? So it's not like American culture, you are free to do whatever you want. What is Shivra's vision of freedom is, freedom is good. You can do what is right and you can refuse what is wrong. This is what his way of looking at freedom. See, when you study a person for 20 years, I feel some of his thoughts get infused in your blood.
Yes.
You get like, I used to dream about him.
Right.
And I used to dream about Aurangzeb also because I had to study him. So it's like instinct.
Yeah.
Developed. So it's like his way of looking at freedom is you can refuse what is wrong, which is more important than freedom of doing what is right or what you want.
How does Shivaji Maharaj's legacy live on? Like, what is the impact of his life?
So first of all, when the British came, because by the time the Peshwas had come, of course, Watandari system had to it had to come back. A lot of things happened.
Right.
It depends on circumstances. His dream of the correct military system and demolishing Watandari system did not stay on. It died immediately after him or after Sambhaji Raje passed away. But his legacy is when the transfer of power came to the British, most of the power went from the Maratha hands to the British. That's why Hindustan was formed. It went from the Hindu Sardars to the British hands, majority of it. So that's how his impact is great in our lives. But of course his name is also being misused, politicized, to polarize people.
Right.
He never believed in caste. But under his name, everything is being played for power, which I feel is an irony of the thing. Because power never corrupted him. But power which is filtrate, it has come from his name, is being corrupted.
It is, it's an irony that necessarily exists in circumstances like this.
Yeah.
I found that, voices that are the loudest against a certain, you see this in religious foregrounds all the time as well. There's somebody who voices themselves against a certain tendency to be religious will then later be converted into a religious figure, and people will become very
Yeah.
much unto him later on. I see. I'm very glad we could sit down and talk about.
Also,
Yes, please.
last but not least,
Yes.
he was not against Islam. He
Right.
was not against Islamic kingdoms.
Hmm.
He was against. He did not want to live like a secondary citizen
Right.
in his own country.
Right.
But sadly, common man, Hindu or Muslim, you or me, we are actually really living like I don't know what
Yeah.
in our country.
Right.
Because I saw the conditions of the road I came, and the mayhem,
We could do
and
a.
the collection of rubbish, and everything.
Right. No, we could speak for hours about how this country needs to fix itself.
No, I'm just in contest of Shivrai. I'm
Right.
saying
Yeah.
what he dreamt, and we have killed that dream.
Mm.
And he had rainwater harvesting on his built in hill forts. It's like an ecosystem. We have not learned from that.
Mm.
We just cry, say why somebody called him Shivaji and not Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj,
Right.
and we are stuck with that
Right.
politics of caste. Am I a Maratha? You are a Brahmin. So many times people ask me in Maharashtra, are you a Maratha or a Brahmin?
Mm.
What does that matter?
Right. Well, Medha, I know you have a flight to catch, and we've been speaking for quite a second. Thank you so much for your time and your patience. I hope I did justice to this conversation. And
I hope I too did.
No, you definitely did. You're the star here. I'm only supporting cast.
No.
And I hope we can sit down again very soon and talk about Sambhaji and all the other things that you're interested in, because you're a great storyteller. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for calling me and looking after me so well.
That's without mention. Thank you.